All right, Tampa Bay, welcome to the Thunder. I am your host, Shooter, with the Stash in the Professor, Thomas Schooley, and we are in a good mood today. It's going to be a fun show. I put back on the I Want to Party Like a 2004 shirt. I got to show you the back of it later. It's a celebration tonight. It's a celebration. A short celebration. We're going to leave it to just a one-night celebration because, you know, this is just one step in the process. But
first round.
The Tampa Bay Lightning
it's only 4.
Have defeated the Columbus Blue Jackets.
Hey, what's that? What's that on my back? Can you see anything back there? Oh yeah, no monkey. No more.
The
no
redemption.
More monkey back there. All right, on
the
to the next
redemption
round.
series is over, and it only lasted 5 games.
That's right.
We took down the team that spanked us last year in 4 games. I wanted this matchup for this reason. You got to think that this boosts the team. Guys, how do you feel? How do you feel after moving on to the second round of the playoffs?
I know how I feel. How about you?
Freedom fucking
Professor?
point.
What do you think?
I mean, you couldn't get any more better. We complained this whole series. Where's Sorelli? Where's Chernak? Where's Maroon? Where Paquette? I mean, even he stepped up this game. We said they needed a complete game. Really, as much as this game was crapped on from the refs, it really was a complete game. This, I think, is what the Bolts needed to sustain the rest of the playoffs. They needed that test to come back and to face adversity big time. They were against everybody today, and Columbus threw everything they had, and we took it.
Probably the worst we've looked in these 5 games. I mean, it looks like we kind of played that first couple minutes, got those 2 quick goals. We're all on cloud 9 thinking, oh, this is going to be the game they break it open. And then
everyone's going to see in our Facebook Messenger thread between the 3 of us. I mean, we are all super high, like, oh, it's over in like the first 5 minutes, and then and
then it just all fell apart from there. But man, we can kind of go through the entire recap of the game. But first, I want to start us off with a toast, and this is going to be one of 4 toasts that we do. So everybody, grab a drink if you want to jump on here and do this live with us. You know, you're going to be able to do that. I'm going to put it in the chat here if you want to jump in. Jump in now because we got Jay Recher is going to be joining us in a couple minutes. But we're going to do a shot. We said it last episode. We stand by our words. We've had a couple predictions on this podcast, by the way. I said I wanted Columbus. We got them. We got the redemption series. We beat them. You guys said 5 games. We got it. We also said last show that we were going to take a shot when we win this series.
We also said Pickles was going to score. And when he did, we were going to do picklebacks. And I got my pickle juice
disgusting.
Here ready to go.
Looks disgusting.
I got Clausen, baby. Only the best. Clausen.
So the professor is having a Diet Coke shot. And that's okay. I understand there's people out there that don't drink. There's people in my own family that can't drink. So
they're busting perps. He's out there busting multi-state.
I'm at work. So.
Multi-state international crime rings. Yeah. That's what he's doing. No big deal.
Here's the deal. Grab your favorite beer. Grab your favorite whiskey, vodka, whatever it is. I'm going with some 1792. We got some Diet Coke. We got some
10-year bullet.
10-year bullet.
Hey, Victor's doing the peanut butter whiskey for me.
Oh yeah,
peanut butter whiskey, one of my favorites too. So grab your drinks. I've got to make my drink here first. And Stash, I need you to walk me through this because last time I took a pickleback was you, and I've never even made one before.
Oh,
so
I mean, it's just
all it is 2 consecutive shots, right?
Correct. A little shot of bourbon or whiskey of your choice, and then a little shot of pickle juice as a back. That's what they call it in the bar industry. Is whenever you when you back a shot with something like a bud, call it like a whiskey with a bud back. This is a whiskey with a pickle back.
I like this shot glass too. It's probably tough to see with the green screen. Prescription shooter.
I'll show everybody mine if I can get it around. From one of my stomping grounds. Oh, Durango, Colorado. It's like a bottle top.
I see Eric's got some 1800.
Cool.
I see some Jack Daniels. All right.
Yeah, a little JB.
All right, so you guys are ready. I'm making my
Yeah.
pickleback. I still had to pour my whiskey. I do like this 1792 small batch. This is a Kentucky bourbon. This stuff's delicious. So I'm going to pour my shot here. My other shot glass is actually also calculated. Might be tough to see this one too. It is a Canada shot glass. That's where the boys are playing. That's where they're going to win the cup. So
yeah,
I will pour my shot here. Stash, why don't you give us a toast? Who are you toasting to? You are a toast master, right?
Well, you know, I think I just got to give it up in this first round to Coop. My first shout out and my first toast of the first round is to John Cooper for the way he rolled with the punches, the way he managed his team, the way he adjusted, the way he did everything he needed to carry his guys through. I mean, you saw today halfway through the game, they came back and tied it. He took that timeout halfway through, or they came out, you know, and they took the lead. They came back and he called that timeout, and they might have come back and took the lead, but that's what it kind of needed to right the ship. And talked about it in the post game. It was the difference really in the game today. And to me, so that's what it is. To me, everyone wants him gone. Everyone wants his job. I say, you know, fuck the haters. This one's for Coop. All right. And I'll add on to that. Rick Peckham called his last game today for the Bolts, the end of an era. I feel like I kind of grew up listening to this guy. Yeah. So, you know, I saw a lot of kind of comments and everything on Twitter about him. So that was good to see. Tweeting random people that wasn't actually Rick Peckham because I was, you know, so emotionally excited. And then we got Victor and Steven who just called in. Do you guys have drinks with you? Victor, you look like you're in a car, which, by the way, this was your idea. So,
to my defense, I am at a restaurant. Instead of opening it up in front of everybody and having you guys in it with all the noise in the background, I figured I'd come outside and take a drink with you guys.
Wow, that is so kind. That is so kind.
Appreciate that.
All right.
But here's the thing. So I couldn't make up my mind. So I got the peanut butter for Thomas.
All right.
But then I got the one for Torts.
Ooh, Gentleman Jack.
Oh, the gentleman, the gentleman, yeah, nice.
Steven, any drinks for you?
Doubles.
I'm not much of a drinker, but
don't drink then. You're not even old enough. Sorry.
I am old enough.
I'm just kidding.
I'll be 24 in like 2-3 weeks from now.
Oh man, you and Connor. Like, oh. You and Connor.
All right.
I'm the youngest at work too,
well, let's do this.
Water.
Have your water, have your Coca-Cola. Anyone out there that doesn't drink what you want to drink.
Drink your wine.
Yeah. To Cooper, to the Bolts, to that first round win. Let's take it all the way to the Cup Finals. Cheers, guys.
Go Bolts.
Ooh. Oh, that is awful.
The peanut butter actually isn't that bad.
It's so good.
I told you.
Man,
all right. Good. So I like pickles, but man, that's disgusting.
So good.
All right, so
good.
Steven and Victor, please.
Steven and Victor, I got to put you guys on hold because we got to bring our very special guest. You guys are welcome to just hang tight, and we'll bring you back on. But we've got our special guest. It looks like on here. He is the man, the myth, the legend. You see him or you hear him on your radio. You see him on your social media. He's actually a big hockey fan and probably one of the best guys we can have on here after a big Lightning win, Mr. Jay Recher.
What's going on, boys? I missed the drink. I don't really drink either, but here's a fake shot for Torts. Enjoy the ride home, John Tortorella.
Right.
Amen.
Yes, he's out of our hair. So, Jay, what did you think going into this series? What were your thoughts? I was on record saying, like, I wanted this series. This is what I wanted. I wanted that redemption. I feel like those guys are in the locker room right now or earlier today celebrating big time because they got over the hump. They got the monkey off their back, like Stash said. What was your thought going into the series? And what was your thought just kind of like throughout the series of what you saw from the team?
Well, I was impressed that it only took 5 games. I thought it was going to take 6 or 7 just because of, not so much about what happened last year. Because, listen, as much as we want to look back at last year and go, well, this team versus last year's team, it's two totally – the Lightning don't play the same way. The Blue Jackets don't play the same way. Plus, you got Artemi Panarin, I think was a huge – we talk about the difference with the Lightning. Look at the difference with the Blue Jackets. Panarin signs with the Rangers, and he's an MVP candidate this year. So he's gone. Bobrovsky's gone. Even people who don't mention Ryan Dzingel, they picked him up at the deadline last year. Now he's with Carolina. He's on his way home too now. But so it's a totally different team. And then you add Coleman and Gaudreau and Patrick Maroon and a guy that I think he's really come up big is Kevin Shattenkirk, whether it was the shot on the Gord goal from the other game and then today with the big slapper and what he said to the team between the second and third period. So it was weird today because even though they didn't play well, I said, they've got one more rush in them. They've got one more 5-minute burst in them. Hi, CJ. I see you're tuning in. CJ always tunes in, big Lightning fan. But I knew they had one more 5-minute burst in them today. And it was all depending on when it happened and if they scored during that. And when it was around the 7-minute mark and then Shattenkirk scores, I go, man, because as soon as the Lightning score that 4-3 goal, you saw the tide turn, guys. I know you did. And then the Columbus Blue Jackets, it was almost like the world was falling. It was like a boat taking on water, and they couldn't do anything about it. And the Lightning just took control, and it was a great feeling, man. Wins like that are so much better because as much as we love a 2-1 win where they shut things down and don't give up a goal for over 30 minutes, when you go up 2, down 2, and then come back and win and score the game winner in overtime, it's just, again, you'll always remember this series. You'll remember the first game, and you'll remember the last game.
Bookend, yeah, for sure.
And it was a heck of a game, too. Yeah. And I saw you tweet earlier about that Shaddy kind of speech. Can you talk a little bit about that for anyone that didn't see that or hear?
Well, Shattenkirk has been a guy, and it's funny because my Uncle Kenny used to be the rink manager for the Rangers in Rye, New York, where they used to practice at Rye Playland. And that's where Kevin Shattenkirk, yeah, I know, right? Kevin Shattenkirk grew up there. So actually our families kind of known each other for probably 30 years now. So we've gotten along really well, and I just think he's an awesome guy. And people are looking at him and they'll say, well, he makes some defensive mistakes. He's not a Chernak. He's not a Bogosian. He's an offensive guy. He's here to bring some goals, and he's here to bring that leadership. So between periods 2 and 3, and Tyler Johnson mentioned this in the postgame, John Cooper came out and said, hey, guys, relax. We're a good team. We got plenty of time. We got 20 minutes left of hockey. Let's get out there and just play our game. And then Shattenkirk was the guy that stood up, and they didn't really get into the details of what he said, but you're always wondering, and I know you guys get that here sometimes, who's that guy that steps up? Who's the guy that says something? Because it's not, you look at the leaders. Pointer's really not that guy. Kucherov's really not that guy. Maybe Maroon. We've talked about Maroon, but to hear that Shattenkirk was the guy that stood up and said something, and Tyler Johnson, for him to echo those sentiments, not just once, I think it was 2 or 3 times in his post-game presser. To me, that says, man, no matter how many goals he scores from here on out or what kind of contribution on the ice, he makes a huge difference off the ice. And guys, that could factor in whether it's a short playoff run or a long one.
Yeah, and I've been a fan of Shaddy since he's gotten here. I think you could just tell, you talk about veteran presence. I think just that's exactly what he brings is just that different kind of mentality. And once you saw him get a little bit hot on the ice, you could see that there was a different tone to the entire club. His attitude changed around, and the entire rest of the team kind of started pivoting offensively after the things that he made. That one shot with the screen, the deflection from Gord. That was a huge change in the tide of the series, I think, offensively, especially for the Lightning, feeling like, okay, we can get those type of goals we're used to getting. And
exactly.
Because we talked about that. They were kind of getting fluky goals. That was kind of the beginning of them getting back to their regular Lightning style of hockey. And that's the kind of hockey that won the game tonight.
You think about it too, guys. The defense, when they're activating the offense, we've seen it with the McDonough shot with a point scored on the rebound. You saw it on the Hedman goal, and you saw it on that. All good teams, especially come playoff time, when you're not going to always get those pretty goals, you either got to get those scrappy goals or you got to get your defensemen activating the offense. You saw that in the Boston game the other day with Connor Clifton. But here's the other thing too, guys. You bring in Kevin Shattenkirk as more of an offensive defenseman, right? So you think that's the guy you're going to bring in and be your number one power play guy. Guys, he's a third option behind really Sergachev, Hedman, and then him. He didn't pout, he didn't sulk, and he still made a contribution on this team on and off the ice. I think this guy, it was worth every penny. You sign a guy like that for around $1 million, and that's a great deal. But just another tip of the hat to Julian Brisebois. This is a great find.
And you brought up all the new guys that the Lightning brought in today, but the one person you didn't mention, Bogosian, I thought he has been the solid person on defense, really, this whole series. He was in the mixture of everything, even taking lots of shots. He didn't score. He did get an assist, but he didn't score at all. But I really think it's for a guy that's never been in the playoffs in his career, in such a long storied career, him joining this team has really helped us a lot.
Tom, that's a great point, man, because you look at Zach Bogosian, and during the training camp, you're kind of like, all right, we kind of get an idea of what the lines are. And then you're like, wait a second. And I remember turning, I think it was to Eric Erlinson. I said, is Bogosian skating with Hedman? He goes, he's been out there the last 4 shifts. And I go, wow, they must really like that. And let me tell you like this, Zach Bogosian, when you are the partner of an all-star defenseman, and you see it with Brendan Dillon from the San Jose Sharks, he played with Erik Karlsson. That's why the Washington Capitals said, we got to go get that guy because he can play with John Carlson, or he could play with another one of our top defensemen. Bogosian and that type of guy, we've seen Strawman play that part in years past. It's almost like an offensive lineman. If you don't notice them, they're doing a hell of a job. And in that first game where they had probably 150 shots, it seemed like, he had 7 shots in that game. I mean, I love it, man, because he's got the and people go, why him and not Ruda? Well, he's got a little bit more of a physical presence. Well, why him and not Luke Shen? Well, he's a little bit faster. So he's kind of got the combination of Shen and Ruta. And you have a guy that's like, damn, I played, like you guys mentioned, I played over 600 freaking games, man. Just give me one playoff opportunity. He's been waiting so long for this opportunity. And as a professional athlete, when you have something to prove, that's a dangerous player. And that's what you're seeing with Zach Bogosian.
He's got the toughness of Coburn.
Hell yeah, man. And it sucks too, because I love Kobe. I think Kobe's good enough to play. And listen, there's probably 1 or 2 other teams that Kobe wouldn't be playing on right now, but there's no team in the NHL. Last year, I think it may have been Calgary, maybe the Lightning. Nobody's stronger on the left side of their defense core than the Tampa Bay Lightning. You have Hedman, it was arguably the best. You have Sergachev, who's probably the best left-handed defenseman under 25, and Ryan McDonough, an unsung hero who's your number 1 PK guy. So, yeah, I mean, Kobe, it's a numbers thing more than anything, but it's not because he hasn't played well. It's more because the 3 guys in front of him are pretty damn good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Coburn's a good option to have waiting in the wings just in case you need someone. He's got a couple games experience under his belt.
Hell yeah.
Now, I want to ask you, Jay, like this post-game show started off as a party. It could have been a really bad post-game party just based on how most of that game went. Mm-hmm. What happened today? Do you think it was just a case of when a team's got their back against the wall, they're just going to give you the best they have, and the Bolts kind of got that 2-0 lead and just kind of like, took off a period like they tend to do, and it was longer than a period. But what do you think kind of was the problem today? Because like I said, we could have easily had a whole different show tonight if it weren't for those last couple minutes in Braden Point there at the end.
Well, I mean, it couldn't have been those 6 power plays that they got, by the way. Just saying. It could have been those 6 power plays.
It's crazy to think those numbers. I refereed hockey for years. My dad was an ump, so like I'm usually the one guy that's like, all right, guys, you know what I mean? Like, listen, if the referees really were biased against the Lightning, they wouldn't be out there because those guys get reviewed every game just like the players do. But you see some of the stuff. You look at the Pierre-Luc Dubois cross-check to Kucherov right in front of the ref. It's like, all right, come on, guys. You know what I mean? Like, you can't tell me that you didn't see that one. It was right in front of you. But, no, I mean, I'm with you. I think it's one of those things, guys, where we forget that we look at things through blue-colored glasses because we're Lightning fans. But we got to remember there's another team out there, too. And, yeah, I know Shooter's got the whole get-it. You guys are all ready to roll.
Hold on. I even have this from the kitchen in here right now.
Look at
you. Do you have a hot pad?
Keep going while we're doing
the camera here. That's a flag over there.
Oh, my God.
That's all I'll show.
I just got motion sickness when you change the screen. No, but, I mean, there's another team out there, too. People forget that. And that's why the 4th win is the hardest one to get, because the other side has professionals and darn good ones too, and arguably one of the top 5 coaches that we've seen in the last 20 years in the NHL. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't look at it like, the Lightning left their foot off the gas. It happens, man. And you'll hear every good team say there's ebbs and flows. If it was the case where like every good team that wins the cup, how rare is it that you see a team sweep every single series? You don't see that. And, we have this kind of weird thing in Tampa Bay where it's like, if something goes wrong, it's like, oh my God, what's wrong? We got to fire a coach. We got to do that. Relax, man. Relax. I mean, you won the game. And listen, if the Lightning would have lost this game today, they still would have been up in the series. Like, it's the world's not falling. This team is still really good. And the most important thing, and like we didn't see it last year, is that when they got punched in the mouth, they punched back. They didn't give in, and they showed it again today. So, hell, they won the series, yes, but they exercised those demons. Maybe not as much for them, but particularly for all Bolts Nation. You can kind of, past it, gone. Let's move forward to round 2 and, a likely date with the Boston Bruins.
Yeah, and you bring up a good point too, because as me and the wife were going over to the local place to watch the game today, I was like, man, I got so much anxiety. Why am I so nervous just going to watch this game? And it's because I was so worried if they lost the game, having to defend my team to my fellow fans, just because they, it's the playoffs, man. Okay, is it Columbus? Yeah, whatever the seed is, it doesn't matter to me in the playoffs. I mean, okay, maybe we're not Colorado out there just completely handling Arizona, but Arizona and Columbus aren't the same team. Columbus I think, was a very underrated team. And again, you even said it, Jay, Tort's one of the top 5 coaches we've seen in, probably
last couple decades,
current generation, current cycle of coaches. So people aren't giving them enough credit, and people don't understand, like you said, the ebbs and flows that naturally happen in the game. These guys are out there playing for their entire season today, and like you said, the Lightning took it. I thought they maybe should have dropped the gloves somewhere in the middle of that second period, just because of the way it was going. Shooter and I were kind of messaging back and forth. Let's get kind of rough here, but they did it their way, and they responded their way, and they pulled it out, and they did it in 5. And however they did it in 5 games against a team that was not ready to go home.
No, and it's a good point too. And I think one of the hardest things, and Dave Dutka, I'll get to your question here in a second. One of the hardest things to do in life, whether we're with our kids or at the DMV, well, not right now because nobody's at the DMV, is to be patient, man, and to kind of let things kind of get back to normal. And if you notice, some of the best players, like you look at a guy like Sidney Crosby, and I know it's Sidney Crosby, but it's just like it never looks like that guy had a hair out of place. You know what I mean? Like, he plays his ass off, but he never seems worried, and some of the best athletes are like that. They just kind of let the game come to them. If it's down, they know, hey, everything is going to ramp back up. I just got to stay within myself, play my game, and everything will get back to normal. And I think that's what you saw with the Lightning. They didn't get into any fights because who knows? They would have got maybe an extra 2 somewhere.
Right,
because
if they got,
you don't know. Like, Maroon
gets
that penalty a couple games ago for the same thing that happened like 7 times today. And it's just, but that's the thing, is like, as much as, a lot of people freaked out on social media, the most important thing is that the Lightning didn't freak out about it. They didn't take retaliatory penalties. They took 3 slashing penalties. It was like, all right, come on. But they've been calling that all playoffs. If you watch any of the series, they, you have that stick parallel to the ice. They don't want that. They want more offense. And, as Lightning fans, we hate that. But as NHL fans, we're like, yeah, we do want more power plays because people hate it when they swallow their whistles. We just want to see more for the Tampa Bay Lightning, damn it. I mean, we want to see that power play as well.
And I think I had that kind of realization today, being a guy that grew up with 90s hockey and old school, like the way it used to be in the playoffs, where they did put the whistle away. Yeah. And, we talked about it. And I usually say that every season, power play doesn't matter. But you know what? It does matter now. It's a different NHL. And they are calling it differently in the postseason. So if they're going to call it that way, then we deserve to get the same amount of calls and the same amount of opportunities, especially as deadly as our power play is.
And that's where the pause helps too, because I think when you go from the regular season right into the playoffs, you almost feel like it's a different mindset for everybody, referees included. Yeah. But because it was the pause and then you come back, it was like, how do we make this as normal as possible? So I think as a whole, the referees are looking at this more like, how would we regulate and referee a regular season game as opposed to how we've refereed in postseasons past?
Yeah.
I mean, Columbus only scored on the 1 power play. Yeah, the first goal was 1 second after the penalty expired, but technically they were 1 for 6. Tampa had the delayed penalty, but then Coleman scored. So we would have had 1 power play.
And even whether they score or not, though, whenever you're down for 14 penalty minutes for the game, and that kills your ability to have any kind of momentum. And the Lightning are a better 5-on-5 team, anyways, as good as they are on power play. Or
power plays haven't helped us.
Yeah, 5-on-5 is where they are their best. So because they're a flow team.
But you see, too, sometimes the PK can give you a bump.
Yeah.
And that's what you saw in the third period. Is like, I love that John Cooper challenged. I didn't think he challenged because he thought he was going to win. I thought he challenged because he was like, I got to do something here. I got to shake things up a little bit. Yep. And it was almost like he went on the PK like, hell, man, we got to give it a shot. Why not? They didn't get one shot on that power play. Yeah. That turned the tide, gave the momentum back to the Lightning. Not shortly thereafter, Kevin Shattenkirk scores, and then it's a whole new ball game, man. So I thought Cooper did a really good job. He gets vilified a lot for, you know, his lack of – people want John Tortorella to walk through that door. But let's not forget, a lot of people in the Bay Area are like, oh, yeah, well, I miss Tony Dungy, blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of people in Tampa Bay saying Tony Dungy is lifeless. He's a robot. And then, oh, I love John Gruden. But 20 years later, people are like, you're like, come on now. Like, you know, you gotta take the good with the bad. Those guys that are real passionate are great. And listen, we talk about how good Tortorella is, but listen, they haven't gone deep in the playoffs in a while. They lost last year after they played the Lightning. I saw him with the Rangers. He hasn't won a cup since 2004. So
or Vancouver. He didn't do good in Vancouver either.
In 1 year, that message got real stale in Vancouver, and they couldn't get rid of him quick enough. So listen, he's a great coach. Don't get me wrong, but you play the hockey postseason is different than any other postseason. You may play up to 28 games and sometimes 56 to 60 days. That's crazy. And you guys know you watch hockey. That's ridiculous. And the toll it takes. So in game 19, 20, 21, your body's banged up. And now you haven't seen your kids in forever. You really want some guy yelling at you about not clearing the puck? It's like, all right, bro, I got it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sorry, I won't do it again. You know, you have to know when to push, but you got to know when to pull back a little bit. And I think John Cooper knows that line right now with this team. And the best teams, they police themselves. And that's what I think Columbus does that too. Foligno does a great job with that, but you saw it with Shattenkirk today. Coop doesn't have to say much. These guys are a veteran club. Coleman, Goodrow, the guys they brought in, they weren't young. I mean, who's the youngest guy in this team? Sergachev? He's been here for 3 freaking years. So, I mean, and he's a pretty mature guy. I remember the first person I talked to this year was Mikhail Sergachev. And the first words out of his mouth was, I want to play on the PK. Not I want to win a Norris Trophy. Not I want to be on an all-star team. Not I want to score 15 goals. I want to play on the penalty kill. To me, that's a mindset of I want to be the best defenseman in the world. You get that mindset from your third defenseman on the left side, a kid that's 21, 22 years old. To me, that speaks volumes of him. And think about it. He'll probably be the last guy on this team in the next 10 to 15 years. It'll be Mikhail Sergachev.
Well, and I feel bad for him too, because I think of all the penalties called, I think that one on him,
that was
hook or the high stick. I think that was probably the most bogus penalty of the entire game, and they scored on that. And you could see he just felt like trash, and I think that was a terrible call. It just the entire scenario. So I'm glad that they're able to bounce back and get the win. So he didn't feel so bad after that, because that wasn't on him whatsoever. That was just a good hockey play. I'm like, this is playoff hockey. That's a good playoff hockey play there, and you're gonna call that, and then. So I'm, I like what he's doing for sure. I'm with you. The third line guy on the side, like it's crazy the development he's had just in a couple years here.
Jay, we talked about after last show. How important do you think it is that the other lines are finally scoring? I mean, we had
Pickles.
Yanni last game. We had Gaudreau last game. So that's starting to open up the other lines. Today we get Coleman. We get Shattenkirk. We get Cirelli, finally Cirelli showing up. So how important do you think that is? And what about Stevens coming in today for Verhaeghe?
Yeah, I thought I was a little surprised at the Verhaeghe, and I think some of that may have had to do with the face-offs, but I don't know if he took many at all, if any. So I thought Mitchell Stevens started well, but then I think the bench got shortened up a little bit. You didn't see him as much as the game went on. But yeah, I mean, depth scoring is what it's going to be all about. A lot of times, and we saw this a couple years ago when they beat Boston in 5. After that first game, when Boston went absolutely nuts, they didn't do anything 2 through 5. And I think when you look at, and it's likely going to be Boston, you would think if everything plays out, that point Palat Kucherov line and that perfection line, I'm going to quote it because I don't believe in it, Bergeron, Marchand, and Pasternak, who's not 100%, those lines cancel each other out. So, their second line's gotten better. They got Andre Kotcher from the Ducks. I really like him. I thought the Lightning could have got him instead of Goodrow, but listen, it hasn't gone wrong, so they made the right pick. That line's pretty good too. I think Cirelli does need to step up more. He did today, scored the big goal. We still haven't seen the best Anthony Cirelli, and that to me, you just won in 5 games, and you're arguably your best two-way forward behind Braden Point hasn't even played near as good as he has in either the last regular season or the postseason. So I think that Gord line is going to be huge again. I think the fourth line with Patrick Bruin is going to be big. Last game, watch what happened. They put Seth Jones and Zach Werenski against the Lightning's third line. Just think about that. What is Boston going to do? Chara's going to be running around. Charlie McAvoy's so damn good. But Tuukka Rask leaving. You're going to get Yaroslav Halak in net. That's a huge advantage to the Tampa Bay Lightning. You got to stay off. That's the big thing, too. You got to win draws, which are going to be tough because Bergeron is arguably the best faceoff guy in this generation of hockey. And 2, you got to stay out of the penalty box way more in this series if they do play Boston than you did with Columbus, because they'll score so fast that the guy in the box won't even sit down yet and they'll score. So it's just, you got to be, smarter, I think, is the most important thing. But I look at lines 3 and 4 and I look at the goaltending situation. That's where the Lightning have the advantage. So that depth scoring, like you said, Tom, is going to be huge in this next series if it ends up being Boston.
Is there any news on Stamkos? I know we had that question from David here. Usually teams are pretty tight-lipped about any injury, so I haven't heard anything. Have you heard anything about Stamkos? Any potential of him coming back in the second round, or do we know anything?
Unfortunately, and I just want to give you guys the timeline of what I saw with Stamkos when they were in Tampa. So he was skating before everybody, and you're like, okay, you see him, he's working out a little bit. And then he's out there with the team, but it was power play work only, no defense. So you're like, okay, he's ramping up. Now he's with the guys a little bit. Then he goes out there with the power play with defenders out there. You can tell the guys, they were being easy. They weren't going hard on him, but he was out there against defenders. So you're like, all right, there's steps in the progress. He's getting closer and closer. Then he stopped doing that altogether. And I said, oh, man. So they didn't say there was a setback, but there had to have been a step back. You don't ramp up and then immediately go all the way back down. He's not taking line rushes. We can't even get an answer, and it's tough because usually with home, if things were back to normal, I'd be at Amalie Arena at 9 o'clock in the morning, an hour before morning skate to see if he's out there. We can't do that now, and especially because they don't let the media into those morning skates, the preamble to what they do on a regular morning skate. So nothing, I'm hearing that it's not out for the entire postseason, which is good. But Cooper's been very tight-lipped. We even asked him, like, hey, what about practice? And he's like, I'm not going to talk about that. He's just rehabbing it. You feel bad, man. There's nobody that wants to be out there more than 91. And listen, maybe that's the boost that the team needs when they're in a little bit of a rut, whether it's this next series or something down the road, because that power play that doesn't look too good, if you could put 91 in there, that makes a world of difference.
The whole world. Well, and that changes the lines all the way down. And we were talking about that the other day and how the trickle-down effect from having him on the ice, 3 and 4 lines already match up well against other teams. But whenever you put 91 on the ice, that makes that third line even better, So it just, we want him back. But like you said, he wants to be back. But, you just got to roll. And I think that's kind of why I'm glad Coop not talking about it. It's not just about speculation for the fans, but just to keep his guys focused on what they're doing and not to talk about the elephant in the room. Everyone in that locker room knows the situation. They know what's going on. All those guys want him back out there. You saw him after that first win, the first guy there to hug Pointer as he came in the locker room. Stammer's there. He's feeling it with them. He's there as a captain as much as he can be. So, it just sucks for everybody involved.
When we were talking to, I think it was Joe Smith the other day, I think he said with these early games, there hasn't really been much practice for the Lightning. So, and especially with the noon game today, they didn't get no morning skate in today. So he said he thought there had only been like 3 practices during this. So to get Stammer some ice time is pretty hard right now.
One normal game, right? I think it was that one game Saturday. It was 7:30. Everything else was like a noon or a 3 p.m. start. It was like, what kind of world are we living in right now with this afternoon hockey, man? But hey, listen, the most important thing, the Lightning won 4-5, and they're moving on. I think that's important. And people forget, too, with Stamkos, and I see this all the time. People are like, we don't need him. We should get rid of him. Come on, man. You know what I mean? Like, this is a guy that's going to be in the Hall of Fame one day. He's going to get up 500 goals. He's a damn good player. There's only one guy in the last 20 years that shoots the puck better than him, and it's going to be the guy that might wind up with the most goals ever in Alexander Ovechkin. So let's take things, these are huge. This guy wants to be back there. And we often forget, too, when you look at it, there's a lot of time, especially now off the ice, whether it's meals, whether it's just hanging out, where Stamkos still leads the charge. So even though on the ice we don't see him, he's still a huge part of that team. And listen, again, nobody wants to be back more than that guy.
Yeah, and you see a lot of comments like CJ Joe's here, Stamkos who.
CJ.
I mean, yeah, he's our guy here. He's the captain.
Yeah,
He's a big piece of the puzzle here. The good news is we can win a playoff series without him. So the question now is, can we beat a Boston without him, or whoever we end up playing? Probably Boston. All I know is it's good to have him kind of in our back pocket if push comes to shove, and we got to get him out there. Yeah. So, Jay, we'll let you go. We know you got important business to do out there with DAE and everything. Tell us where we can find you. I know you've been doing kind of the post-game show right after the game and stuff like that, but where can we get this awesome hockey commentary? Best hockey guy on the radio in Tampa, in my opinion.
Thank you. The check's in the mail for that nice compliment. Thank you so much. Just follow me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram at Jay Recher, and Bolts breakdown every day of the game at noon on our Facebook page on WDEA with Brian Burns and TampaBayLightning.com. Then after the games, Eric Erlinson from LightningInsider.com. After the post-game show, we get on there and just kind of like what you guys do, man. Just chop it up with the fans, kind of break down, what we're talking about. And we're excited, man. We're excited to get back hockey because we really didn't know if this was going to happen. And I know you guys feel the same way. It's like, we weren't sure if we would talk hockey, or we weren't sure if there was going to be a playoff run. I was supposed to be in Montreal for the draft. You know what I mean? Like, I was supposed to travel this year for the first time for the playoffs, and it didn't happen. Wow. But you know what? I look around and, we got hockey, and, even if it's in a bubble, and I think this is really cool that what you guys are doing. I always enjoy it. I'm kind of upset that Ty's not here. Because I see, listen, when I'm watching this show and Ty is sitting on that couch and just somebody comes up from behind him and starts talking to him, and he just goes, hold on, and then he'll just chime back into the conversation, and then he'll turn back around. And one night I must have went back like 5 times to watch him just go here and then lean back in and talk, give his 2 cents, and then lean back in, and I'm crying. And my girlfriend's like, what are you laughing about? I'm like, this guy Ty has me laughing so hard. And I tried to explain it to her, and she didn't get it. She thought I was an idiot. And I was
the funny thing about Ty is that he's basically the reason that Shooter and I know each other.
He is.
And he's kind of like the Kevin Bacon of Tampa Bay. Like, there's 6 degrees of Brandon Tyler George, and everybody knows somebody that knows Ty. And so that's funny that you mention how entertaining he is, because we've known that guy for a very long time.
Uncle Ty. No. I feel like he should be called like Uncle Ty or something.
Uncle Ty
or cousin Ty, because especially when you 4 guys are on, it's so funny because it's 4 different. Like, Shooter, you're like, from the waist up, and the Stash are a little bit farther back. Tom's like up in here, and then Ty's like this, like
where's his chicken wings?
Hey guys, I just feel like he's kind of, and he's like, guys, I'll be right back. And he'll take off his Mexican coat. And I'm just like, that is so funny. Like, if you guys ever make like a parody of anything with this show, just do him sitting on a couch talking about hockey, like intermittently, like every 5 minutes. And I swear that's gold.
We've talked several times just about doing a show about Ty. So he will be back.
Creative conversations about an animated series inspired by
Ty will be back. We hope you will come back, Jay, sometime later on. We've got many games to go in my mind. I've said it many times. Probably I've said it every episode. This podcast ends when we lift that cup. But we want to get you back. We need you to. I haven't reached out to him yet, but you might not know this, but Ian has actually met with and helped me in the Stash when we first got started before. So I haven't reached out to him yet, but I know he's Canadian. There's a little hockey in that blood. So
talked about it.
We want to get him on. So give him a little heads up for me. A lot of gravy
in that blood too. A lot of gravy in that blood.
Exactly. Gravy in that blood. But we'll let you go. Thank you so much for joining the show. Go Bolts, and hopefully we'll see you back on the show. And definitely anyone that hasn't checked out any of Jay's stuff, whether it's on the radio, Lightning, go check it out. I know you guys are all hardcore Bolts fans, so you'll love it. He probably brought you here in the first place. So thank you.
Thank you guys for having me again. Whenever you need me, just shoot me a message, man. I enjoy it, and keep up the great work, man. You guys, every time late at night, I'll be, what the hell are these guys up to? I always enjoy it, man. You guys make me laugh. Thank you.
We don't know half the time.
See you guys.
Take care.
Okay, thanks.
All right, so now the debauchery begins.
Yeah, now we can really cut loose. Time for shot number 2.
let's bring in Steven. Steven's been waiting the whole time. We'll get his take. I see a bunch of comments here. We got Jesse out there saying, let's go Lightning. Braden Point. Hey, guys. Well, here's a good question for you guys. Who was the player of the series for you guys? Because I know a lot of people are going to say Braden Point. I'm going to go with Yanni Gourde because I just feel like the physicality that he brought, he also brought the scoring to the table. He was my guy this series. What do you guys say?
Coleman.
That's a good call. It's Vassy for me.
Vassy.
Coleman for me. I thought Stash was gonna say it, so I hurry up and jumped in there before he could.
It's I mean, Coleman for sure. I like the way he played. Very inspired, but especially today, I know they put up the 4, but I thought Vassy really played a spectacular in stretches today that really kept this team in it mentally, and throughout the season or throughout the series, he really did what he needed to do to keep the guys in the game. So that's my guy.
Yeah, I agree with Thomas. I think Coleman, because I have my best friend out. He's in the Air Force, and we play NHL religiously, Xbox all the time. So he always loves gooning, and he always drops the gloves. I'm like, Raul, why? And so he sees Coleman getting out there smiling, and I think personally for me, when we bring new people in, there's nothing more that I want to see than for them to get in there, produce some offense, and to see like Cirelli score a goal, Coleman score a goal, Goudreau score a goal. I think if we watch each one of our shows from this series, Coleman was talked about in every single
point. You're absolutely right. That's a very good point. Yeah.
And I think he stood out in every single game and then deserved this goal tonight. Whether it was with his defense, like we talked after that loss, him and Maroon both said that they needed to be in front of the net. And the very next game, they were in front of the net. Yep. They talked the talk and walked the walk. I really like Coleman this series. I'm glad we have him for 2 years. And I can't wait to see him on the next series because he's done plenty of games against Boston himself, being from Jersey.
Yeah, he was huge in New Jersey. I have a bunch of friends I'm slowly getting into hockey, and they always come to me like, same thing. Where's Stamkos? I'm like, relax, he's rehabilitated. And they're like, well, these guys are just, pushovers. I'm like, don't worry. I was like, he was on the Jersey Devils. He was kick ass on that team. He produced. I'm like, on here, he's on the third line. He's not up there on the first, second line. And I was like, it's like a whole different mindset they have to get into.
And it's kind of crazy if you watch the game, we went out to our local watering hole to be able to go watch this and played a little hooky from work today. And, there were stretches times when I looked up and Coleman had the puck, but it looked like Point. The same stature, the same hair, moves. Hanging out, and they're fat. He is fast. Coleman, we don't talk about how fast he is. He's got the speed. He might be the second fastest guy in this team, right behind Point. And you saw in game 4, he's got the hands, that little dangle thing that he did with the little toe drag. Oh, yeah. He's got the moves. So we didn't talk about it when Jay was on, but we were live tweeting during the game, and he was talking about multi-point games, and I'm like, this guy is due. He's been putting in the work. He definitely is due for a multi-goal game, or to at least have a good run of like a multi-goal streak. So a multi-game goal streak. So I think you could see him going 5 or 6 games with a goal going.
We talked monkeys off the back, not only, with us beating Columbus, Coleman getting his first goal with the Lightning, Gaudreau getting his first goal with the Lightning, Bogosian getting the assist, Vassy winning the series. There's a lot of things that Yanni scoring. There was a lot of things in this series that really.
How many teams are putting their third line out there to start the game and to start off the period when you're down 2 goals? You got your third line out there. Like, who has that luxury in the playoffs right now? I don't know anybody that's putting their third line, quote unquote, out there for these big game situations. So, that alone speaks volumes to the way these guys are playing and the way that Coop is managing this team.
So we've got the Thunder out there saying number 20. That's Coleman, was great, as you guys agree with. Vassy, Rachel. Shout out to Rachel, who is Distant Thunder and over across the pond. CJ Joe says Hetty. That's a good pick considering we were
big numbers for Hetty.
Scared at the beginning of the series, and we didn't even know going into that first game if he was going to play the entire playoffs. Yanni got a vote, and
Shaddy
a
got a
Shaddy from
Shaddy.
Eric. He's
Yeah.
such kind of like that silent player where you just never hear his name until he hits that score sheet. And, that's a good problem to have with a defenseman. You don't want to hear their names unless they're scoring. So good
Well, that
point
last
there.
game, that Yanni gourd looked like it was going to be his, and it was almost the same exact shot that he did tonight.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a
That's a bullet.
rocket, and Yanni just tipped it on that last one. Today, it just it was off his stick and in that net within a second.
Yeah.
So there's a
What are
point.
your
Pointer
guys'
Vassy.
opinion on Palat? Because I know he's on the first line, and I love Palat. I think he's great, great skill player, and I want to see, I was hoping Palat would shoot more because I was like, hey man, Palat has a mean wrist shot, and I know I've seen it come and time again. He has a great shot right from the slot, and I was like, is he playing, to pass to Cooch and point more? Is he becoming a playmaker on that line when he comes, eventually comes to the second line? Is he gonna produce like that offense again?
Well, I think he's kind of the workhorse for that line. You always kind of got to have, when you have two talented guys like that, he's a puck possession guy. And I've been critical of Palat for a very long time, but you got to see the value that he brings to a line like that. Like you say, yeah, I mean, he could produce, and he's probably due, and one of those other guys that's kind of due because he's been playing good hockey. But he is kind of that facilitator on that line, getting down there below the blue line, getting the puck possession on the forecheck.
Palat's got some moves. I've seen him dance around like defensemen all day. Like,
for sure. But like
when
you've got Cooch and Point on that same line, there's
it's
only
speed
so
first,
much
shoot second. For Palat, his number one goal on that line is to get the puck to the point.
Well, that's what he did on the triplets line too. I think people forget that whenever he was there with Cooch and Johnny, it was basically the same thing. He was that solid guy on the side that would get down there deep and create possession and let the other skill guys get to their places and their spots on the ice and make their plays. So
they always talk about Point's hockey knowledge and his skills. I think Palat has that, and the assist and getting it down the ice and reading plays and defenses. I think that's where Palat's important the most at.
And there's a good comment from Chris. If Point doesn't bury the game winner today, Palat was right there to put that puppy home.
I'm not upset.
Yeah.
And what a shot that was by Point to win that.
Oh my God!
We're talking about Kucherov coming alive and assisting and facilitating all three of those last goals too. So I mean, we are talking about a series win, and we're barely even talking about arguably the best guy in our team right now. So
well, I think he had to get pissed off.
Yeah,
he finally got pissed off, not in his head pissed off, but actually mad at Columbus and the refs. And was like, you know what? We're going to have to beat them on our own. We're going to have to take this. And here, kiss my ass. We won the game.
And I thought Cooch has played good all series. He just hasn't been lighting up the scoreboard. Like, he is our sniper. He is our goal scorer, right? And he hasn't really been doing that. But I think he's been playing hard. You don't see – I haven't seen some horrible turnovers that you do see from him from time to time. But he's been playing hard out there, it looks like to me. So, his goals will come.
Sure. Yeah. No, and that's what I'm saying. That's really my point. He's out there playing two-way hockey. He's playing good, but we're not even really talking about him, and we won the game in the series in 5 games. You know what I mean? We're talking about second and third, fourth line production here. And Jay said, those top lines cancel each other out, and maybe the next series with Boston, but our top line matches up really well against Boston, and they would think that they're a physical team. They're not nearly as physical as they used to be, and I don't think they're nearly the same type of physical that Columbus is. So you get through a series like you did with Columbus, and if you're playing Boston, I don't see a lot of reason to be nervous or concerned. I feel like you feel confident coming off of the series, going right in that series, feeling like you match up well if you're the Lightning, and
we just beat them in the round robin.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the other thing. We beat them in the round robin. We played well against them in the regular season overall. So, overall, so I feel like we've, in the last few seasons.
Just like Jay said, it's kind of unfortunate for them right now, too. They're missing Rash. They're missing Pasta's not 100%. I'm like, dang, these guys are just dropping like flies. I'm like,
So they beat us once, March 3rd,
Right.
by 1 goal. That was
Yeah.
it.
And a lot of these games, I remember, these were good games. These were
Yes, they definitely
playoff
were all really good
style
games.
games.
The
Absolutely.
best of the season.
Yeah, almost. Yeah, though you could go like all 5 of those games, but like, oh, these were the best 5 games of the season almost, because from the very beginning in October, they were playing like it was playoff hockey.
We'll
from
see
that
gloves
first
get
2 weeks.
dropped in game
Yeah.
4.
And that doesn't include the round robin one, which we
Yeah,
beat them.
exactly. Right.
But then we talked about with Cooch, something I see with the Russians in particular, they take the game either very at heart. You see it from Ovi with Washington. You see it from a lot of Russian players. If they get it inside their head, but then when the foot's on the throat, they take the team on their back. Look at Ovi last night. Cooch today.
Huge.
It's always been a Russian thing, is that you see it in Sergachev, you see it in Vasi. You can see when they are defeated. You talked about when he took that penalty and they scored and how upset Sergachev was. And that's a Russian thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, don't piss off the Russians.
No.
Lesson
I
learned.
never-
And yeah, it's funny.
Don't
Ovi just took over that game last
Yes,
night,
he did.
and
Just
I
like
was
that series against us, man. That's what it reminded me of. Honestly, last night I was watching that game, and I was like, "Man, here comes the Great Eight." It just reminded me when I thought that team was down and had no life left in them. Obi's like, "Oh yeah, you see Great Eight. Here I come," and he was just like putting the net, like at will. He's putting the puck in the net. And it seemed like he's like, "Oh, time for me to score again." It was pretty incredible.
And this comment here by Chris about Verhaeghe and Stevens. I honestly think Stevens got hurt in that second or I think it was the second or third game.
he did.
Game.
He was off for a
And
while.
that's why Verhaeghe actually was starting. And I think they gave Stevens, now that he was ready to go again, I think that's why he got the start over Verhaeghe.
But to Chris's point, Verhaeghe played well. Came
sure.
in there with the energy, brought that. But I mean, to me, those guys are very similar as far as kind of the energy and what they're going to bring to the team. And at the end of the day, I want Stamkos in there for either one of them.
Right.
Gotta get that power play going. But
I mean, really, you can rotate all of them. Joseph, Volkov, Verhaeghe, Stevens. I think they're all basically the same player with the experience that they have. I think down the road, we're going to see Volkov is really going to be something big for the Lightning. And Alex Bure-Boulay, I think, is going to be the next real superstar for Tampa. I hope we keep him. But, yeah, let's hope we don't give that up.
JBB, you know what I mean? Maybe there's JBB was
JBB connection.
around. Yeah.
He got
like
rid of
this
one of
comment.
the feet. So, but I think all those guys are interchangeable for a series where you're going to get some good minutes from them. Maybe an assist or a goal if you're lucky. But you're right, it's not a Stamkos. They are just filling in for a Stamkos, and that is it.
I like this comment by Eric. Right now, I would rather face Boston over the Islanders. I don't know if I agree with that. You just look at the Islanders and they just look so good right
They're a
now.
solid
But
team.
you have to take into consideration, like what Jay was saying, with kind of our roster, the experience kind of speaks volumes. Boston's going to be probably the only team that's in that second round that can match us in that playoff experience. And you guys are shaking your heads, but it is the teams that have that experience that usually are the ones that can overcome that tough Eastern Conference final. Those go to 7 games a lot, those Eastern Conference finals.
Let Philly and the Islanders fight it out. It looks like it's going to be Philly and Islanders and us and Boston. And there was 3 teams that made me nervous going into this: Carolina, the Islanders, and Philly. Philly, the only one we lose to in the round robin. They're ugly. They're mean. The Islanders, they are a big team. Yeah, they can't match up with us, I don't think, on speed, but they are big guys. So I'd rather Philly and Islanders go a 7-game series, knock each other out. They hate each other. They're from the same area. They can't stand each other. Let them fight it out, and may the best one face us in the Eastern Conference Champions.
As much as I wanted to see the Caps go out last night, it's only going to help to have the Islanders have to play another game.
One
And,
game.
you know, the Caps come back and win that series. You know, stranger things would
That
happen.
would be
But
huge for them.
If the Caps
But
win the
I'll take
series,
as many
then we
games.
face the Caps.
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, and I
that's
always
not really
said
what
that
I
I
want.
would-
I'd rather have
well,
Boston.
Revenge
I mean,
part
if
2.
you want to talk about the road to redemption, the Caps are part of that, if you ask me. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? So I'm actually was kind of hoping that we were going to see the Caps after this first round with Columbus. So
Peekaboo.
So
That's the analyst right there.
yeah, super hockey fan. Good night, buddy.
yeah. All right. So what else? You guys want me to give you my my notes for the entire game?
Yeah, let's totally break it down at the end of the
No,
show.
you don't. We don't have to. This is one of those games where, like, let's just be happy we won. Let's not break it down. Let's just talk about that overtime.
Let's talk about
and move on.
Torts. Torts and the coaches not shaking any of our hands.
Yeah, I was gonna ask.
Torts taking 2 questions at his press conference and walking out. I mean, come on.
Man. Hey, that's classic Torts. You expected
It
something else?
is. It is. Would
I mean,
you?
expected
Do you
something else?
expect anything else? You know, at the end of the day, he has to take the headline. No
Yeah.
matter if it's a win or a loss, it has to be about Torts at the end of the day.
You guys fell down 2-0
Here's the
in that,
full
but that was
post-game
one of
show
the
for the
fixes
Columbus Blue
that
Jackets.
had, you
Don't
know,
worry, it's only a
postseason.
minute long.
Yeah.
You know, playing the clock there in the final 8 minutes.
No,
2-goal lead.
no, they had 3 shots.
Next question, Neil McHale, Inside Hockey.
Next question.
I know it's hard after the series loss to really compress your thoughts, but what has this whole experience been like, being in the bubble, you know, being so close to your players, you know, working with them on a day-to-day basis, and just mentally seeing them come back?
He's about to have a heart attack.
You know what, guys? I'm not going to get into the touchy-feely stuff and the moral victories and all that. You guys be safe.
You acted like he had diarrhea or something.
I know, dude. No. I think it's had a turtle head poking out. Like he's like, I guess
He was already going.
He's like, it's halfway out, man.
Yeah.
That guy had hit the head for sure.
Yeah, I was gonna. He didn't come out on the ice and shake anyone's hand, did he? I didn't.
No.
Thought I saw him.
None of the coaching staff for Columbus did. They went straight to the locker room.
That guy.
What?
I mean, listen.
What
I
was
don't.
up with that?
Listen, I don't know, man. It's one of those things where you've always had that guy, that player, like, oh, screw that guy when he plays against you. But if he came to your team, you're like, I like that guy. I like Downey. I always thought Scotty Hartnell was that kind of guy for me too. I freaking hated him when he played in Philly. When he left, I was like, I wouldn't have minded if he came to Tampa. But Torts is kind of that same kind of coach. It's like, man, you love to hate him, but at the same time, I wouldn't want him back over Coop. I
Classic
really
Tampa guy,
Yeah.
Dino Ciccarelli. You hated him before he was with us, and you loved him when he was on this team.
Yeah.
Well, here's my tweet of the game, and I definitely stole this from someone on Facebook, but it just fit the game to a T. For anyone that doesn't remember, 0 power plays tonight.
Yeah.
0.
Possible
One delayed. We
Possible
scored.
one,
It's true. They tried to give us one.
Touchy feely shit. Yeah. Torts.
Yeah.
Nobody's out
We
there.
got-
There's 2 minutes left in the third. Let's try to give the Lightning
Like-
power play, guys. Let's give him one.
Like, you know, you could give Torts a hard time and everything, but who's the ass clown to ask that question about what's life like been in the bubble when you just lose a freaking playoff series? Like,
I
you
think
know
it's
what I
an
mean?
NHL insider too.
Right? Like, who the hell is asking this question of Tortorella of all people? Like, I don't know any coach that's really going to answer that question in that situation of just losing a series. But of all people, you ask Torts about what life was like in the bubble.
I love it.
Well,
Like,
they
who the-
know it's only a matter of time, so he's probably thinking
Like,
like,
you're just trying to get us up, but yeah, you're just trying to bait him. Yeah,
You
you're
can
trying to
answer
bait him.
tomorrow. He can answer tomorrow when it's eviction day for the Columbus.
Right? You know, but you know that guy's just trying to freaking bait Torts into a sound bite. You know what I mean? And I mean, I guess he got one. You know, I'm not going to get the touchy feely shit. You guys be safe, like, but I don't know. I just
Do you think? Do you think the Lightning players tomorrow, like, go hang out in the Columbus rooms that they were in and be like, oh, go and trash Seth Jones' room?
Going like
Coop goes to Tortorella's room and is like, now who's king?
I'm gonna go take a crap in your toilet.
Yeah, I wonder how that works as you kind of end teams runs and the bubble
like
just kind of gets smaller, right?
It'd be like Risk. We get to take over your rooms.
Yeah. Do you get a better room now? Like, did Torts have a better room?
The presidential suites.
Coop's like, I want one that looks over the water rather than the arena.
Right.
I'll take Corpuscal's room.
So in Tom's comment here, Vasi is the pinnacle of the team. I totally agree with that. I think if we're going to win the Stanley Cup, he's the most important player. I've said that since we rebooted We the Thunder here. Does he have the most playoff wins in Bolts history, Thomas? That's your category.
I think I don't think he's tied for the most wins. Now, isn't it? Yeah. He has the most games played in the playoffs, but he does. Yeah. He's tied the record for the most wins.
Yeah.
So remember 2015? It was when Bishop got hurt, like in the finals, and Vasi was like 19 or something, and he had to come in.
I loved him then. I knew that kid was gonna be huge. I'm like, man, this goaltender is incredible.
What great experience, right?
Oh yeah.
To play in a game on that stage at that age, and he won't get a star of the game, I don't think, in this game. I don't know who the 3 stars of the game were, but he definitely kept this team in the game. We haven't really talked about how much Columbus really dominated through most of this game, and Vasi made some huge saves. It was, how many shots did Columbus have? 41-25.
Yeah.
Whooped us again in face-offs.
They had 25 shots in the second period, which was a franchise record for shots in a period. And again, here we are. Now, I mean, not to harp on anything else, like in a victory, but 53-47 in the face-off circle. We lost in the face-off circle again. Big face-offs, especially when they had the momentum there in the offensive zone. A big part of that big surge by Columbus into the first and into the second was coming out of the face-off circle. We just could not get the puck.
So according to the Lightning,
hold on to it.
The Lightning app, the 3 stars were Columbus. Gavrikov was number 3 star. Cirelli number 2. Pointer number 1 star.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that makes it is what it is. I don't read too much into the 3 stars of the game from national.
It's what have you done for me lately?
Yeah. We talk about the series, especially in a series victory. I think it's more important to talk about the overall picture here. But you saw the Lightning, though, 41 shots on goal by Columbus, but 45 hits from the Lightning. So again, you're seeing a physical team out there that's still able to put the puck in the net. And that bodes well, I think, going forward, even against a team like Boston.
Chris with a comment here. Questions from the media have been ridiculous, not naming names, but you can see Coop and other players roll their eyes or get that shit-eating grin when they announce who has the next question. Hey, except for when Jay Recher and Joe Smith ask questions.
That's right. Never not roll from those guys.
And anyone else from the media that wants to come and join us on We the Thunder.
Yeah, it's just like celebrity. You guys ever watch the Hot Ones on YouTube with Sean Evans?
Yeah.
It's like, when you get a guy like that asking super deep, just these analytical, beautiful questions that everyone lights up, and then everyone just loves. I love hearing like the dumb questions. It always makes me laugh. Like, so you just lost. How do you feel?
Right.
Well, it's tough to figure out like what questions you need to ask. Like we need to get the stash. We need to get the stash in the bubble. Well, I guess that won't happen this year, but we need to get the stash asking some hard hitting questions. I think
some cred.
Some good questions.
Give me some cred. So
let's ask you some questions.
Well, and the funny thing is that these guys are hockey players and hockey coaches too. Like that's the other thing. It's not like, athletes traditionally aren't the best interview, but especially hockey players are not great interviews. And hockey coaches in general,
6-hour workout.
These guys aren't out there, public speakers. Even Coop as a lawyer, isn't really the most outspoken guy, and he's probably the one that talks the most at his press conferences. He's willing to be a little bit more analytical usually in his post-game interviews. But when you start asking some of these questions, I don't blame them for, just being like, next question. Basically,
I think doing a quick count, we had 9 different Lightning players score in the series.
That's
think to
that's
go-
really good.
I think to go against Boston, having nine different players is something we're going to need to see against Boston.
Yep.
At least 9.
And now my brackets are all screwed up. I had Carolina in 7. That didn't happen.
Ridiculous.
I had
That's
us in
wishful
6.
thinking.
Still happy, but it didn't happen.
So let's start to wrap this up, and I've got kind of like a funny note here. I forget who mentioned this to me. I think it was Ty, the infamous Ty, that mentioned this back in like game 2. I think he mentioned this. But let me share what I'm looking at here. And I want you to take a close look here at these socks, and he's got them out too, but apparently this has been bothering Ty, and now it's starting to bother me. These guys had the socks on full display, and he's got like just his regular kind of business socks on.
Right.
We got like Nessie and Bigfoot here on the Chief, which, by the way, someone on Instagram said, you guys got to get the Chief on. I'm like, I wish, buddy.
Yeah, right.
But with these socks, I don't know if you guys have seen the sock show. We have to give them a shout out because I think after this round we move strictly to NBC Sports, right?
We do.
Yeah.
That's why it was the end of the Rick Peckham era.
Man.
They might still do a pregame show. Not sure. They haven't said whether or not they will be or not, or a postgame show. But their socks were trending on a lot of social media, so I think it became a thing for them because it was a lot of tweets going out about who was wearing what socks and if you could see them or couldn't see them, if they were plain or if they were had designs on them and all kinds of things.
Yes.
Well, I'll tell you what, man. I think I'm gonna go out and find me some cool socks for the next round. These guys aren't gonna be on the broadcast.
I was going to say,
I'm gonna hold it down for them. You know what I mean?
Should we carry over the torch of the socks?
Yeah,
I have
there you
lightning
go.
socks.
There you
Steven's
go.
got lightning socks. I don't know what you guys, if you
They're
guys
super
have any
comfy.
cool socks.
I
actually have
stamkos socks. That
So do
he
I. You
said-
probably have the same ones I have.
He said he wanted a pair, and then I went to go order them, and they were sold out.
Wow.
He can have mine.
I've got a pair of Deadpool socks that I could start out with, and we could go from there.
There
Yeah,
you go.
that's the first thing I noticed too. Like, I think it was game 1. I'm like, is Andrew Trick wearing like American flag socks? And I just stared at the whole interview. I'm like, yo, these guys have some nice socks.
Yeah, I think Steven's the one that brought it up. I don't know if it was Ty. I think Steven, you might
It
have
might
been
have
the
been
one
you,
that brought
Steven.
it
I'm
up,
sorry
but
if it was.
I think so. But
I loved
Anyhow.
these
Yeah.
Chief
Like,
socks
man,
here, though. I
socks.
really like them.
Bigfoot and Nessie, I love him. And by the way, how about that pompadour too from Chief? Man, his hair, he's rocking that nice brush back pompadour, bro. Looking good.
Any chance the Chief comes back to the booth next season?
Oh man.
Didn't they say they were
Yes.
interviewing someone for Rick's position, like currently as the playoffs were going on? Like there's something
Probably.
within the
I'm
weeks.
sure.
Hell,
Yeah.
I'd
It'd be
seen
interesting.
a couple different rumors that would be taken over for him. Can't remember who they were, but
I would
that
love
was
if
back
Dinger came
before.
back. Hashtag bring back Dinger.
I wish he doesn't want to come
I
back.
know he doesn't, but I miss the Tower of Sour so much.
You guys have more experience in the broadcast announcers than I do. The only thing I love hearing is Michigan on the radio. I was like, man, I never heard a guy
Yeah.
scream as loud as I do when we score a goal.
Yeah, I
right.
do like that combination on the radio because usually it's Mish and it's Espo. And I don't know why on earth Espo is still doing radio commentary. Maybe because that's what he grew up with.
Yeah, he's just brutally honest. I love it. He's just straight to the point. He's like, man,
I
that
love it.
sucks.
He's like, oh my God, why?
Yeah.
Oh my God, no.
He's like, man, if I
They're
was on
so
the ice, I wouldn't do
stupid.
that.
It's like when Chief is on the broadcast. It's basically the
He was
same guy.
very
I love
similar
that. Yeah,
to
they're
the
basically
Chief.
same guy.
But Espo lets out the groans and everything.
That's way well because they're a lot more. They could be a lot more liberal on the radio broadcast than they can be on the TV broadcast. So
A quick behind the
with
scenes
their- as
story.
a homer.
Have you guys ever got to go in the radio booth during the games?
No.
So I've been
Absolutely
lucky enough to do it twice. And you go in during a period and you put on a headset. You're not allowed to cheer or anything because they'll pick you up on the radio. And seeing that is the most amazing thing, to have a goal called by Dave Mishkin right in front of you. But they are the most hilarious people during a commercial break. Espo jokes around like crazy. He has one of the biggest potty mouths I've ever seen. The last time I was up there, he was like, we were up there for the third period, and he's like, listen, I got to go after this game. I guess my wife did some effing reservations at the bowling alley, and now I got to go eat there. I just want to have a beer, but I guess I'm going there, guys. And it was so funny. But being there, watching them call the game is just an amazing thing. And the one time we were up there, we scored 4 goals. So hear Michigan scream, goal, goal, goal 4 times. It's just crazy.
It's an experience I'm going to have to need on my bucket list and to get it crossed off. And my mission, scream goal for me.
Yeah, right.
And if you listen to the podcast version of this, we will put it up on our podcast feed. So, you don't have to see these beautiful faces if you don't want to, but we will warn you right now, if you tune into the live feed, we are very handsome. So tune in,
touching.
but if you want to just listen, I know a lot of people have long drives, stuff like that, like to, walk the dog and listen to stuff. Go listen to the post-game show. You won't see all the visual, parts of it, but I do usually kind of try to grab a little bit of audio from the game, whether it was, Michigan or Espo or anything that I can find out there on the internet and put on there. And I usually put those at the beginning and the end of the podcast. So go check that out. Subscribe to us. Also, give us some likes. Give us some subscribes, because that's the only thing that's basically keeping us going is all these likes and stuff and the shout outs that you guys are giving us. So keep those coming. Same thing if you want videos. We got some videos cooking for the Bucks and some other stuff. But let's just keep this party going throughout the playoffs. This is kind of our main thing right now. Obviously, we're on like every other night. So we're hoping you guys aren't getting tired of it. We're going to keep bringing some people on to make it interesting. And thank you.
Yeah, big shout out to all you guys that keep coming, even later in the evening after the game's been over for a little while. You guys have kind of been pumping our numbers up recently, and it's awesome. It just keeps us wanting to do this more.
Thomas is famous, that's why.
Well, that's also true. I got to give a lot of credit to the professor. Definitely, those least amount of credit goes to Shooter than me, and then the professor clearly.
As Iron Man once said,
no, I just, man. Shooter is basically our full producer, sponsor, everything, and he does a great job running these shows. And we look forward to the next series and just getting even more and more people to follow us and just keep talking hockey, because that's what it's all about. Us fans, us ham and eggers, being able to come on here, have some shots, drink some beers, talk hockey, drink some Diet Cokes, whatever it may be. Bust some perps in the spare time, and just
I keep looking up, and I'm like, did I steal it?
And by the way, I love the dedication. I mentioned earlier we were doing our little messenger thing during the game, and you were saying you told your boss that during game time, guys are just gonna be able to steal because you don't have the time to deal with them anymore. Game time's way more important, and I agree. I totally agree.
They have a crisp
nothing's more important.
Steal anything they want.
But then I freak out, and I keep looking up, and I'm like, is anybody stealing? Yeah. But I mean, for everybody that reaches out to us, I don't know about you guys, but I know since the beginning of this, Shooter and the Stash both asked me to be on this, and I've been getting tons of messages from different people who have watched it and really like the stuff that we're doing, and really it's just talking hockey with each other.
Mm-hmm.
What did Thomas?
I like how we can put comments up like this. We welcome all the smack talk, all the smack. You see it between us. Bring it on. Bring it on. We're all one big happy Lightning family here. So there you go. Little laugh there.
No, Braden Point's my number 2. He knows he's my number 2. He's my number 2 bay. I actually was the very first fan to welcome Braden Point to Tampa Bay. I got the first selfie with Braden Point when he was a rookie at his very first game. Same thing with there's a couple of them that I've been able to. Sergachev was one of the I got one of the first selfies with him. I want to say Cookie Gross was the first one to get him, but I was pretty close in there. But Stammer's always my BFF. But Pointer's my second. But everybody that's reached out to us, we really enjoy playing, watching and talking hockey. That's the only reason why we do it. And because you guys join in and talk with us and like what you're hearing, that's why we're continuing to do it.
Yep.
I mean, the messages just keep coming from, all different people just saying how much they like this. And I'm just happy to be a part of it.
Yeah.
Like
And
Thomas said, you guys are always been like super welcoming. Like Thomas, like, I love these guys. I'm like, yeah. I mean, there's not much people that just go out and talk about stuff that they love, especially in a town where I feel like I'm the biggest Lightning fan in my whole hotel. And I'm like, I want to attach people more. Like people always ask me, like, well, what's it like? I'm like, well, let me show you. Let me introduce you. And it's always good to have. Now I can just point them to this. I'll be like, hey, if you want to know, just watch the show. If you want to ask questions, ask questions. I was like, go in the comments. We'll answer them.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and if you go way back, we really kind of started, this Shooter in the Stash page because it was me and this guy next to me. We'd be at any bar in Tampa Bay every night talking about hockey, talking about football, baseball, and we're just like, why can't we talk with everyone else on the internet? So that's how it all started. We started as a podcast.
Oh, and luckily,
Thomas, you got to go.
No.
Okay.
No, I was pointing to him. You said the guy next to you.
I thought that was like, I gotta go.
But no, I mean, and luckily technology has finally kind of caught up to us. And I was thinking about this earlier. If we would have been a little bit more motivated and didn't have kind of the family obligations and things we had a few years ago, I think we probably would have went and found somebody to kind of create this kind of platform and software for us sooner, because this really is what we've been wanting to do since day one, is this kind of a show. So I'm just grateful for the fact that technology has caught up to the point, allowed us to do this and do it this way and be so interactive with everybody, from the comfort of our own home in the situation that we're all facing, that's what I'm grateful for, to be able to continue to do this, but also do it in the format that we've been wanting to do for a long time.
And it's always kind of been, like we said, from day one, this was a podcast by fans for the fans. But what's really cool? You get an awesome guy like Jay Recher. Yeah. He watched the show and reached out to us.
Yeah.
All right. So, we appreciate everyone that's watching. You guys are all welcome to join in at any time.
If you're watching.
Yeah. Hey, we can. All right. Enough patting ourselves on the back and blowing ourselves up.
No, let's talk about me.
Let's talk about Shooter a little bit more. What a great guy, Shooter.
More pickles for me.
More pickles.
All right, now let's wrap this shit up because, I don't know when we're going to be live next, but I think probably sometime next week, I would assume. We'll be back on. I think the shows moving forward will all be at night because we should be getting night games, although they are in one location. It will be 2 different series in the East, so it could be a little bit earlier, it could be a little bit later, but we'll see. We're going to keep doing this, like I said, until we lift that cup. I truly believe that is the destiny of this show, and that's what's going to happen. And
finish it.
And I want to share that with all you guys. So final comments from you guys. Let's just go around one more time, and then we're going to end it with Rick's final call here.
Oh, yeah. I just again want to thank everybody that's been tuning in and giving us the motivation to keep doing this. And a big shout out to the guys for just staying mentally focused and going up against adversity, playing their game, finding their way to get out with some tight wins, some aggressive wins. And I think they're mentally ready for this run. Like I haven't seen another team, assembly of guys on this franchise for a long time. This is the mentally prepared team, and they could play any game. That's one thing I saw earlier today. I heard they talk about in the post game. This team can play any style of hockey and win, and that's going to be key. And that's what I'm looking forward to, is this team being adaptable and being deep and being well coached.
Go ahead, Steven.
I'll give us a quick analysis for any Super Bowl fans. The Super Bowl lady is in my hotel, and she says negotiations are still moving forward. So just a quick snippet of some news.
No,
because I get to talk to her like every day. She's the sweetest person in the world, and she's like, yes, the players think it's still going to happen. They're moving forward. So all
right, talk about Lightning.
Positive note, on the other note,
Buck, watch your hood. This is time for Lightning talk.
I think I'll say this simply from the beginning. I mean, I think that I could feel this team has been different And I think every question that I've asked myself or any challenges that, I would think as a fan, like, oh my God, like I'm so afraid. And I'm pretty sure all those questions have been answered for me, so far. So I have the utmost confidence of these guys, regardless of if they win one, if they lose one. I'm like, well, these guys are so prepared now. You could throw a boulder at this team and they'll push it right back, because that's how they are now. Cooper said, we're done with the sit back. We're done with the getting punched in the mouth and not punching back. I'm like, this is exactly the type of Lightning hockey I think that we would deserve, as Thomas said, since we pay for the product, to see these guys like nourish and grow. So I'm excited for round 2. I can't wait. And of course the guys take this 5 days off and enjoy it before we get to beat up some Bruins, hopefully,
as much as they can.
I think this was Tampa Bay hockey. We talked about it, needed to play it in order to win this series. 9 different scorers through this series. You came back from being down. You won a 5 overtime game. I think everything in this series was just getting over a hump, and they just kept going over hump, and came out on top. There was a lot of doubts going into it. So especially after that round robin, that last game against Philly, they showed they were weak on some areas. Do we still need better face-off? Yup. Do we still need to be more disciplined and less penalties? Yup. This is Tampa Bay hockey at its finest, and I say we take the Bruins. Possible sweep, but in 5, I would think.
If you want to go predictions, I mean, I think we're going to do a little bit of a pre-series show, just kind of like once we find out who we're going to play, maybe do a little bit of break it down. But if you want
shooters like I hate you.
But I'm saying, if you want to go
give
on
me
the
a
record,
break.
if you want to go on record for predictions, if we play Boston, I'll go on record and say another 5-game series. I think we both get it done in 5 against Boston. So, but we'll cross that bridge whenever we see who's on the other side of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Was it
if we play Boston, that's going to be a battle. I think it's going to be a long series. I like this comment right here. Destroy Marchand.
Victor.
I think this series is exactly what this team needed. I said it since we started, talking about playoffs. I want Columbus. Give me Columbus.
Exactly.
Let's get the monkey off our back. Let's get the redemption. We did it. We didn't sweep them, but we came pretty damn close. And the performance that we saw tonight was absolutely amazing to, have such a bad game, but to be able to come back, score those 2 goals at the end of the game, and turn around. And Braden Point, Mr. Overtime. This guy just freaking is in a different level in overtime.
Yeah,
but I take the clutch.
I think Peck was not Peck. They're talking the post game about calling him Mr. August. I know there's no one else ever been Mr. August in all
in NHL. No,
in all professional sports, no playoff series are happening right now. So, but yeah, Mr. August, Mr. Overtime. That guy. When the puck gets on his stick and the game's on the line, you better watch out.
But that's the thing. It's not just one guy with this team. You look at Boston, and a lot of people say they're a one-line team, and they've got a little bit of depth, but they're not even close to what we have. These guys need to get in the right mind frame, and a lot of them have been here since 2015 when we lost that heartbreaking series in the Stanley Cup Finals. And I hope a lot of these core members of the team remember that and can kind of overcome, rally the troops, and kind of lead these guys to win that cup. So we still got a long way to go. How many games left do we have?
12 wins.
12. Keeps getting smaller. So 12 games to go.
So close, so far.
Right, guys, we have to deal with NBC Sports, so we're going to have to deal with that the rest of the series. But right here after every game, we want to see you back. And next shot we take, we'll be talking about the Eastern Conference Finals. So I hope you're here with us. Let's bring it over to Rick here. Let's bring him up on the screen. We're going to give him one last play here. We appreciate this guy. I feel like I said earlier, I feel like I've grown up with this guy watching Tampa Bay hockey. So he's going to bring us out tonight. Thank you guys for being the Thunder.
Back in by Shattenkirk. Korpisalo finds Savard. Out of the reach of Gavrikov in front. Points it on. He scores! Brayden Point has won the series for the Lightning.
He almost fell back.
Overtime.
I made sure I recorded that. That'll never be deleted from my DVR. I'm gonna rip it from my DVR. I will have that forever.
That was it. So
That was it.
until next time, guys, stay tuned. Follow at Shooty Shoots. Follow Shooting the Stash. Follow Thomas. Follow Steven. Follow all of us to know when the next show is. You know, we're going to post it up there as soon as we get it scheduled and find out when it's going to be. Until then, this is We the Thunder. Don't forget to be the Thunder.